Alright, what's happening everybody? It's your man Akeem, and welcome to today's vlog. Here to give you an update for the Fantasy Football League for all of you fantasy players out there. It's time for me to talk about a couple of key players and teams as well. Starting at Arizona with Beanie Wells, the running back. I think he could produce some yardage this season because Ryan Williams will not be able to play this year due to a knee injury. He is out for the season. So Beanie Wells really needs to step up, and I think he could produce some yardage this season and gain some points for any fantasy team, for anybody to pick up. I think he's a good pickup for this year's Fantasy Football League. Also, I need to talk about Chris Johnson from Tennessee. He has still not signed with this team, and he really wants to make the big money between 12 million and 15 million a season, and they still has not reached an agreement between Tennessee, the organization, and Chris Johnson. He is still not part of the team. He's not participating in any of the practices or the preseason, and I think this is a dangerous situation because he's a high valuable player for any fantasy team out there. He's one of my top 5 running backs for the Fantasy Football League, but because of this issue, he might drop out of my top 5, number 6 or number 7. Now, this kind of reminds me a lot of Vincent Jackson last season. Vincent Jackson was suspended for 4 games for last year, but he did not play for most of the season due to a contract dispute with the San Diego Chargers, and Chris Johnson is going through the same thing, and this is going to be a tough break because whoever picked him up, whoever decided to select him for this year's fantasy football drafts is in a tough situation because he could produce lot yardage, but he's not part of the team, and we don't know when he's going to join the Tennessee Titans, so that's a tough situation. Now, a couple of key signings that kind of sparked up Chris Johnson's thoughts was Michael Vick just recently signed a 6-year, $100 million deal, $40 million guarantee. Now, this was a surprise to me because I think Philadelphia decided to sign him too early. I think they should have seen how he produces this season, and if he just duplicated his stats of last season, yes, he deserves that 6-year, $100 million deal. Yes, if he performed well this season, and I think that was a little bit too soon. But Larry Fitzgerald from Arizona signed an 8-year, $120 million deal. $15 million per season, and Chris Johnson definitely wants to make that big money. Now, a couple of teams I need to talk about are Indianapolis Colts. Peyton Manning, he's still dealing with that neck injury. He had neck surgery a couple of weeks ago, and he's still rehabbing on that, and I'm going to keep you guys posted to let you know if he's going to be available to the start of the season. But Indianapolis signed Kerry Collins, the old guy, to be the replacing quarterback for Peyton Manning, and this is a tough situation for all the fantasy players of the Colts, like Dallas Clark, Reggie Wayne, and even the running backs' receiving game, because the signing of Kerry Collins, most of the players do not think this is a good fit for the Indianapolis Colts. Reggie Wayne said to himself that this is a step down in making it to the playoffs and making some great productions. And now this is a tough situation because it's hard to determine how well these players will perform because of the absence of Peyton Manning. So for the first couple of weeks, maybe by week 3, we'll see more production for these players. I think Peyton Manning, once he's part of that team, that lineup, starting the team and passing the ball to all these players, all their stats will boost up. But with Kerry Collins in the picture, I think their stats are going to go down. So you might not want to start any of those players that I mentioned for the first couple of weeks. But we will see. I'll keep you posted on that. And the Washington Redskins, need to talk about them a little bit. They're having a great preseason, but let's not forget, this is just the preseason. We cannot get too excited. But Tim Hightower, the running back, looks like he's going to start for week 1 in this season. I think he's a good running back. He had a great preseason. Actually, all the running backs had a good preseason. Roy Halou Jr. and Evan Royster as well. They had a pretty good season on preseason, but it looks like Tim Hightower is going to get that starting nod. So I think a lot of people need to definitely look at him as a potential starter for their teams in the fantasy football leagues. Also, I need to talk about the quarterback battle between Rex Grossman and John Beck. Coach Mike Shanahan still has not decided who's going to be that starter, but I think John Beck is going to get that start for week 1 because he hasn't really gotten a complete 100% opportunity to be a starter in the NFL, and I think that Mike Shanahan is going to give him that opportunity. We all know what Rex Grossman can do, but we're all not completely sure what John Beck can do, and I think John Beck is going to get that starting nod. So everybody should definitely keep an eye on John Beck. He could be a sleeper for this year's Fantasy Football League, but we will see. I highly doubt it, but everybody should definitely keep an eye on them because the Washington Redskins did have a great preseason. I'm not going to lie about that. They did have a great preseason, but this is just the preseason, and we'll see how they produce during the season. Now, we're just just under 2 weeks away from the first game in the NFL season, and I'm gonna keep you guys posted week after week of who should you play, who should you bench for the this year's fantasy football league. And I'll keep you posted on the latest news. Thank you for watching today's blog from Sports News Insider. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.